My friends, what a joy to be here. An honor. It feels like a sacred pilgrimage. In Islam, it's called the Hajj. And Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So today I'm completing 1/5 of my Islamic duties. And Hajj reflects this wonderful saying by this 13th century sage, poet you know of, Rumi. Please come out of the circle of time and enter the circle of love. So we all desperately need community. In Islam, it is said, a wall standing alone is useless. Add to it other walls, it can support a roof, even a granary. Another one from Rumi, only when ink joins with a pen can the blank paper say something. Of course, the Sufis also say, have you not noticed that even prophets needed companions? But my friends, I want to tell you, there's also a danger in communities. Danger of lapsing from truth, the Sufis say, into truth of convenience. It can become what is called bubbles or silos. And I was reading an article with the dean of Seattle School of Theology and Ministry, and he was saying we simply have to become bubble poppers and bubble crossers. Particularly in the area of religious communities. How can we have a beloved religious community? One point is, can it be as little hierarchical as possible? Can we make it non-hierarchical? And of course, here's this famous mullah story which has gone all over the world, where the mullah has been invited to speak in a mosque. He's a famous preacher. He goes to the podium, he says, do you know what I'm going to speak about today? And the congregation says, no. He says, well, what's the point of me speaking? He steps down. You must have some idea what I'm saying, otherwise it's like planting seeds on stony, barren ground. He's famous, so they beg him to come back one more time. He says, now, do you know what I'm going to speak about today? Yes. He says, well, what's the point of speaking? You know it already. He steps down. They beg him to come a third time. Do you know what I'm going to speak about today? One part says yes, one part says no. He sat down again, saying, the ones who said yes, teach the ones who said no. So what is this about? This has many levels of meaning. Every mullah story has many levels of meaning. It's that the real teaching comes from the congregation itself. We're all teachers and students alike. You know that in conferences they say, the real teaching is during the coffee breaks or the meal times. Another very important point to make it a beloved community, can we do the inner work? Transforming the ego, opening up the heart, cultivating compassion, expanding our awareness. Very critical work. I remember in my learning, in my spiritual studies, having to meditate on certain insights. For example, this poetry. Jamal, your face was unclean. Your face was unclean, but you were obsessed with cleaning and cleaning and cleaning the mirror. Jamal, if you get irritated by every rub, how will the mirror of your heart ever be polished? About opening up the heart, Rumi says, take a pickaxe. Take a pickaxe and break open your stony heart. The heart's matrix is glutted with rubies. Springs of laughter are buried in your chest. I remember being asked to meditate on a verse on compassion, actually by a very well-known Indian poet, Tagore. Not hammer strokes, but the gentle dance of the water. Not hammer strokes, but the gentle dance of the water sings the pebbles into perfection. And a very famous one from the Islamic tradition about how to build your awareness, higher consciousness. Can you meditate on this story? There was a sincere monkey who made it his lifelong mission to go to neighborhood ponds, lakes, and pluck the fish out of water to save it from a watery grave. Be with that story. That story has many deep meanings. Plucking the fish out of water to save it from a watery grave. For a beloved community, we must have moral courage. I've learned this particularly in my association with my small beloved community of the Interfaith Amigos, working with Rabbi Ted and Pastor Don McKenzie. Can we have the moral courage to really acknowledge and heal and deal with that which is difficult, awkward, not in your tradition, my own tradition? Exclusivity, violence, unequal status of women, homophobia, and really apathy about environmental degradation. And we, the Interfaith Amigos, say that a very huge umbrella problem is exclusivity. You know, Ted says chosen people. Don says the only way. The Muslim Imam says, you know, your books are good, we believe in them, but you know, you corrupted some of it, we finally got it right. So that's why in my training, I was asked to meditate on this wonderful metaphor. All the rivers flow into the ocean. Jamal, you may follow one river, but please don't mistake the river for the ocean. Or a wonderful story of Rumi, I always remember. There was a very kind, gracious, generous mother who, for the neighborhood, baked cookies for the children, dough and sugar, and made them in different shapes. Tiger, elephant, giraffe, horse. And the kids, they're fighting excitedly. This is the best one, this is better, this is the supreme one. And the mother just sits back because she knows that once they put it in the mouth, the dough and the sugar, it creates the same sweetness. So my friends, the next point I would like to make is, how can we be inclusive? When I look at young people, I interact with them, and we simply have to interact, collaborate, cooperate. I begin to learn about something, it's a large section of the congregation, different from our own, spiritual but not religious. And as I get to know them, my metaphor changes, my worldview changes. I was always told that these are nice people, but they're shallow people. The metaphor always was they're digging wells, but they don't persist, they don't have patience. They move from, they dig part of the way, move to another well, borrowing different insights, practices from different traditions. They never reach water. But I've learned that the real metaphor is they're really digging for one well, but using more than one instrument. So my worldview has changed. Then the other new emerging congregant, multiple belonging. In our house of worship, we have a congregant, you might know her, Dr. Ann Holmes Redding, who is a Christian and a Muslim. And she's been heavily criticized. It's like, if you have more than one spouse, how can you divide your love equally? She uses another metaphor. You can be a mother and you can have more than one child. And you can distribute your love more equally. I love to meditate on the wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi, who knew a lot about how to create beloved community. And he would make 3 points. I keep looking at the time because I must not go beyond 20 minutes. I always joke whenever I come here, I'm from the East. I just, like my other Eastern brothers and sisters, talk and talk and talk and talk and talk till somebody starts to snore. But I'll be compassionate. So Gandhi said, if you really want an authentic community in a multi-religious society, it is the sacred duty of every individual to have an appreciative understanding of the other person's faith. Jamal, you can learn. You can become more rooted in your own tradition by being open to the beauty and wisdom of other traditions. His second point, he says, let's acknowledge every single religion has truths and untruths. He upset a lot of people by saying that. Third point, he would say, he says, if a religious extremist does something wrong, so I don't care what religion it is. He says, I beg you, I beg you, I beg you, do not criticize this person's religion. Rather, point out to this person verses of beauty and wisdom from this person's own holy book. That is the way to peace. So I want to say I have learned so much by studying other traditions. In the Quran, the most used word is Allah, 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 God. When I saw this Christian poem which said, "Oh sister almond tree, oh tree," we mentioned trees, "Oh tree, tell me about God." And the almond tree blossomed. That really splashed in my chest. The second most used word in the Quran is ilm. Ilm means awareness. I love the Jewish insight, Wrestle with God. Wrestle with God. You go deeper into delving deep into profound, controversial, complicated questions. Don't just skim the surface. The Quran talks a lot about prayer. Be humble. Be sincere. In the 5 obligatory prayers, I love the Hindu peasant prayer. The Hindu peasant who says, "Oh God, I'm a peasant, I'm illiterate. Please forgive me for 3 shortcomings. I'm told that you're omnipresent. I don't know what that means. All I beg you is please, for right now, be present in this little puja prayer place." Number 2, "Oh God, I'm told that you are genderless, formless. I can't understand what that really means. All I ask is please, I beg you, be here, be present in the form of these little shapes of idols I have made." Thirdly, I understand that you are beyond praise. You don't need my praise. I beg you, please, for now, simply accept my humble, sincere praise. That to me is a very beautiful prayer. The second point that Gandhi made, every religion has truths and untruths, and people got upset. He would say, I'm not saying that your revelations are not divine, that the verses in your holy book are not divine, but please understand the human mind is less than divine. When the human mind touches a divine verse, the understanding can be less than divine. And we, the Interfaith Amigos, we travel all over the country pointing out that, every single holy book has 2 kinds of verses. particular verses and universal verses. Particular verses are in desperate need of textual and historical context. Universal verses are timeless, placeless, and filled with wisdom. The problem becomes if you take a particular verse and advocate that as a universal verse. Or take, as is happening with many what is called jihadist websites that are very anti-Islamic, they take a universal verse from the Christian scriptures and they compare that to a particular verse from the Quran. So now the question becomes, how do you deal with someone who is adversarial? All this is nice, but we have to be inclusive of those who is really the other. So in Central Asia, they say, please, with everyone, particularly the other, share 3 cups of tea. Listen, respect, connect. Someone who is the other has a totally different theology, total different point of view. Please really listen. Listen without formulating your defensive comeback. Rumi says listening is like metaphorically putting your head on the person's chest and just sinking into the answer. Learn the art of listening. Second point, respect. Please make a discernment, a distinction, a differentiation between behavior and being. Jamal, you might dislike the person's behavior. It could even be evil. But that person's being, essence, is Christ nature, Buddha nature, Allah nature. It is holy. That wonderful mystic Kabir says, in dealing with an adversary, he says, do what is right. Don't allow yourself to be abused. But as you take the right action, I beg you, make a discernment in your heart between behavior and being. And just this discernment has the power to shift heaven and earth. If you make this discernment, our anger does not lapse into revenge, for example. The third point was connect. Don't argue about theology necessarily immediately. You can do it later on to really sincerely find out. Don't criticize the person for the political view. Connect on a human level. Can you really aspire to bond on a level of heart to heart? This wonderful saying, this universe is not made out of atoms. It's made out of stories. See, one of my books I write after 9/11, I knew of 2 very conservative Christian evangelicals, practitioners who I was told if they just hear the word Islam, they break into an allergy. A great dislike of Muslims and Islam. So I made it a point to really, as best as I could, connect with them on a human level. Listen, respect, connect. It took a year, or just over a year, and I can tell you, by really listening, respecting, and connecting, we have become friends, and they have lost the allergy about Islam. But that's not the real story. The real story is I have become transformed. I became aware of how many biases, prejudices, stereotyping I had about those conservative Christian evangelical people. I realized in their community there's a vast range of beliefs. Such sweetness in their community and such a dedication to social justice issues. That's the real story. So my friends, so I just want to end. I notice I'm coming to my 20 20th minute. So I just want to say, what can I offer? People ask me, so what should we do? Tell me, I think in America you say, give me your elevator answer to that. So two things I say. One is, there's a wonderful insight that Rumi had in the 13th century. He would say that true community, true friendship is not based on outer similarities. It is based on inner similarities. Kinship of spirit. I was looking at a Pew Research recently about Muslims in America, and the research said that 40%, over 40% of Muslims in America, when asked, who is your best friend, your real community, over 40% said it was a non-Muslim. True friendship is based not on outer similarities, but on inner similarities. The second thing I always tell people when I'm asked what to do about a religious community to create peace, I would say, if you're rooted in one tradition, have a major and a minor. See, I'm a Muslim. I'm rooted in Islam. But I also love to study and practice Buddhism. This does not dilute my Islamic beliefs. I can tell you from my own personal experience, when I study Buddhism, this waters my Islamic roots. Like Professor Houston Smith, a great professor, he said, you can look at the Quran from one angle. If you look at it from different angles, you have a better understanding of your own Quran. That is why we say interfaith is not about conversion. Interfaith is about completion, becoming a more complete, developed human being. My friends, I pray we all develop a community where we all become complete, developed human beings. Thank you.